And yes, it is a war on whites. I mean, my God, if you're a white male, a heterosexual white male in the United States, and you have very, very high medical school admission test scores, these are the standardized test scores that college seniors take before applying to medical schools, you're not going to get in. I mean, the discrimination against straight white males in law school, in medical faculties, in law firms becoming partner, it's massive. It's demonstrable. It's data. You can show it by data. So yes, and like it's no surprise we have white privilege, uh, white studies in the United States, whiteness studies to figure out the perfidy of white people. So it's quite explicit. It's not like it's a subtext at this point. Anyway, next person. I see Jason requested.
Jason requested to speak, and he now is able to speak if he unmutes his microphone.
Guten Tag, and nice to speak with you, Heather, Maximilian, and really enjoyed what Stolzer had to say. Sympathies to AFD and the lives that people have passed away recently, and who knows what's going on with that. But I just wanted to jump on for a quick second. Didn't want to interrupt the flow of things because I'm such a fan of Heather's and been a fan of Heather's since Heather, you wrote that book about the counter culture back in the day and the deleterious effects it had on American culture. And it's been a while since that, but I've never been as big a fan of yours as I think what Stolzer was referencing as well, as when you appeared on The Spectator, you were with Freddie Gray, and you both spoke forthrightly about really what we find when we dig down, that is this anti-whiteism, this anti-white sentiment behind all of these ideas. Really, it comes down to a retributive justice is how they always kind of craft these arguments, whether it's economic, whether it's border, whether it's medical. You get down always to the kernel, which is, well, the white race has been evil and therefore retributive justice. Something has to be done about the white race. So we were extraordinary. I'm in a community, Heather, you have no idea about, and we celebrated you to the stars and above, you and Freddie, on a couple of occasions. It was really quite mirthful and fun. And so God bless you. Thank you for standing up. Thank you for being a critic of what's happening to the West, across the West. Thank you for speaking out against this obvious but taboo subject of anti-whiteism, this discrimination against white people in general, and then more specifically, white males. And across the West, I happen to be one of the many millions of white males that have been discriminated against over the years. But I think, I would really like to hear you speak to maybe two things. This will be my question. I'll jump off and I'll let you run with it. Dispelling the myth that you have to be, or you are, quote, pro-white by its common parlance, by the colloquial meaning, that it means that you want to dominate, that it means that you want to control, that it means that you want to harm non-white people. That dispelling this myth that you have to be pro-white to be against anti-whiteism, to be against the victimization of white people, Western kind in general, on the basis of our birth, on the basis of our immutable characteristics. Part one, that's part one of the question, because that's something I think that I know I am, and so many in my community that I'm a member of, that we object to. We simply object to the discrimination, the victimization of white people, and we aver that if anti-whiteism is addressed in Western civilization, all of our countries, that everyone of all backgrounds will be freer, happier, and will live better lives, because it is by way of this notion of retributive justice, at least we contend, that so many of our rights are taken away, so much of our prosperity, so much of our future is taken away. The democracies that we have created is eroded and stolen from us, as you're talking about this. There's so much of a more complicated system that is robbed of us by this more visceral, you have more, I want what you want kind of mentality. So dispel the myth that you have for white supremacy. But Charlie Kirk, where are we going now as a consequence, Heather, in this country after this murder? I just read 50,000 plus applications to start chapters.
Right.
where do you think that that is going? God bless you again, Heather. So much, so many salutes to you. And I'll shut up now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason, and I'm honored that you read me. Um, well, where we go, and Kirk, I mean, that is the question of the moment, and the mainstream establishment is doing its best to tar him as a racist, as somebody who should not uh, inspire followers and leaders in his footsteps. They're not quite buried the story yet, but they're not giving it fully. And but I think that this could be a real turning point where, more so than the assassination of Trump, I think that this was so brutal, it was so bloody, so terrifying. And I don't think people are going to be scared by it. I think they're going to go forward. I hope Trump doesn't overplay his hand and use too much government power. I don't think that the issue of networks, that Trump is talking about, that taking out these left-wing networks that fuel violence. I tend to swerve away from any kind of conspiracy theory. I think problems are more cultural. They're ideas. They're not organizations, and that one has to take on the ideas head on, and that gets to the same anti-European civilization, anti-whiteness idea. A book that I read last summer that was absolutely revelatory to me in understanding the self-annihilation of the West. Was the translation of Renaud Camus' essays, and the translation, I think, is called "Enemy of the Disaster." And he's the one that is infamous, undeservedly so, for coming up with the idea of the Great Replacement. It's not a conspiracy theory. He just observes what's going on demographically in Europe. But he explains what he calls the Hitler's revenge, and what Hitler did to the Western mind as far as discrediting any concept of nation or people or race, is just was a lightning bolt for me. Um, and there's just very good work that's being done to counteract this preposterous idea that the West is uniquely evil. There's a academic at Oxford, Nigel Bigger, that wrote a book on colonialism, Western colonialism, and showing that it's widespread. There's a guy um, in Portland State University, whose name, sadly, at the moment is eluding me. But he's written on Bruce Gilley, Gilley. He's written a lot too, pushing back on this myth of white evil. The fact of the matter is, it's just a fact. It's an empirical fact. European civilization saved the world from poverty and affluence. It happened to be demographically white. I have nothing to apologize. Nobody today has any. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to pay reparations when I see Africa when I see Nigeria pay for the involvement of the Dahomey chiefs in the slave trade. I'm not going to do it until then. I'm not going to do it until the Arabs get rid of slavery now, until they apologize. I'm not going to apologize until China apologizes for its imperialism, or Japan. Only the West is involved in this self-hatred. And I value the glory, the beauty, the sublimity of European civilization too much to let it go down without a fight.